Wachek na swe, bismo na feel swe, nagis na kasong diktate ko noshchi mas dotem. Bashkego teke ni mega gishan tawiya. Nego maga nui wachi amalk. Bismo ni ganga di mohtejek. Nas matanak bashne. Umaga nishta. Misagaw miswe ni jashanik Josh Mashuk miswe maga nishta. Nas matan bashne. My name is Rosary, and I come from a very small remote community on the western shores of James Bay called Fort Albany, and that's where I was born. And I spent some of my childhood there, but not all of it. As I was also moved around a lot throughout my childhood. Southern Ontario, Northern Ontario. And I spent about 10 years, maybe more, maybe 12 years in foster care and in the child welfare system. But I was fortunate enough to be able to spend a lot of time with my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, throughout the years. And my grandmother's name is Fabiola. She went by Babby. And my grandfather's name was Frederick. And they were very, very traditional, quiet couple. You know, they raised their family and their children and grandchildren. And my grandfather was a hunter, trapper. That's how he supported his family. And my grandmother was a homemaker and raised her children that way. And a lot of what I carry today and what I share and what I teach comes from my grandparents, but also from other elders and teachers and mentors that I was able to meet along the way throughout my journey so far on my 43 spins around the sun. And it's been a good journey so far. I'm going to start off with singing a song for you all. Open up the space and also acknowledge my ancestors that walk with me, all of my helpers that walk with me. And I'm going to share a song.
There's just thing they can't hear on the chat. Just want to make sure.
So they couldn't hear the whole song? Not even the drum? I'll sing it a cappella.
Yeah.
So this is what I sang with the drum and with everything. I'll sing it very gently and quietly, like a lullaby. And then hopefully you can hear it. What are they saying?
I'll just ask them to let us know and I'll give you a thumbs up, okay? Did they hear it that time? All right. Wonderful. So what the story behind that song and what I wanted to share
So about 18 years ago, I suffered a great loss. Our family, our community, my little sister passed away, and she was only 18 years old. She was just a young one, and I through that loss, I was, obviously very devastated and having a hard time with it. And my younger sister and I, her name was Wendy. Uh, we were very close. We spent a lot of time together, in and out of foster homes, and she was often in different foster homes, and we were always separated and then back together, and then moved around a lot, and so it was very unstable type of upbringing with all of my siblings and I. But this song in particular came during a time when we lost our sister, and she passed by suicide, and at 18 years old, and she really struggled with her mental health, and she really struggled with a lot. She lived on the reserve at this time up north in Fort Albany, and our communities, as because they're isolated, there's lack of a strong healthcare system, and there's lack of supports for a lot of our remote communities, and for the youth especially. And for that reason, they really suffer. At one point in time, the suicide rates were so high on our community, it was an epidemic. Our chief had declared a state of emergency, and our communities were declared states of emergency because of how many of our youth were passing away. So it's still a problem today, and it's something that our leadership is trying its best to find ways to support the youth and bring them some of that inner peace that we all need as human beings. So 18 years ago, I was really struggling with that loss of my sister. So I called my gohom on the phone, my grandmother, and I said, "Gohom, nahawadan, napugadan, kaniwan na hat machine." I told her, I said, "I'm really sad, I'm upset, I'm really upset that my sister's gone. That I lost my sister," I said, "my little sister." And she said to me, she said a few things. Talk to Creator, pray, and she said, "Nikamosumaga, and sing some songs. It's going to help you to sing." And so I took my hand drum, and I was sitting in my little living room after I hung up the phone with my grandma and singing songs, and that's when the song came. I could hear a little sound of little melody in my mind, and so I played with that, and that's when the Nakamuan came. That was 18 years ago. And the translation of Nagofo Nakamuan is my grandmother's song. Nakamuan. And when I sing that song, I think about my grandmother, especially how beautiful and kind and loving and generous she was. She was such a strong woman, and she endured a lot in her life, and but she was always so kind and smiling, and she taught me a lot throughout my childhood. So I had a lot to be thankful for with my grandmother. So when that song came, I wanted to honor her in that way, and that healed me. It lessened that grief. So I kept singing, and the more I sang, the more I healed that grief I was feeling from the loss of my younger sibling. And, you know, I think about when I first started singing, and I was probably, especially with the hand drum, I was in my early 20s. I was living in a little town just about 4 hours north of here called North Bay. And I was always curious about hand drums and hand drum singing since I was young, like 12 years old maybe. I remember I was watching, no, I was listening to the radio. That's what it was. And Wawatu Radio was a radio station up north. And, on the station, all of a sudden I could hear this beautiful song. It was Machi tamburi hampiri, Machi tamburi dan speware be mapewa, Okahino, Nano Nani Kaita Iwene Hintai, Nankaya Yamuni Wachite, Nankaya Yamuni Wachite. And I heard that song being sung by 3 women. And when they were singing together, there was such a beautiful harmony with it. And I was listening to that and I thought, what is this? My mind was blown. My heart could feel it. My spirit felt happy to hear it. And I wanted to sing like that. So I called the radio station. My cousin happened to be working there, and I said, "Hey, what's that song that was playing? And I want to know more about that song that was just playing." And he says to me, "Oh, that's from the Robbie Robertson compilation. It's I think they're called Eulalie. Can you send me that cassette, please? I want to listen to it again." So my cousin sent me that cassette, and I listened to that song until I memorized it. So fast forward, I didn't hear too much about women's hand drum songs, women's hand drum singing, nothing like that. I did go to a lot of ceremonies. I spent a lot of time on the land. I've been to powwow since I was little, but it was very rare to see. I'm talking about in the 80s. It's a long time ago. And it was rare to see women hand drum singers. It wasn't that popular, I guess, around that time. So it was fascinating for me to see this group Eulalie, and I wanted to know more about it. So time goes on, and I'm in the town called North Bay, just north of here. And I made some friends there, and they're a group of women singers. And we get together and we start singing songs. I made a hand drum, part of a hand drum workshop I went to, and I started singing songs with some of these women that I met, and it felt good. It felt like, oh, this is what's been missing my whole life. And that was in my early 20s. And I was still relatively new at singing, but I was learning a lot of the old women's songs like Anishinaabe Kwe. Anishinaabe Kwe, Nani the Godora, Nani the Godora, Nani the Gekoma, Wenachini Kwe, so songs like that. And then what else did we sing? We also sang Strong Women was a really popular one back then too. And yeah, we had a roster of about, I don't know, maybe 20 songs of traditional women's songs that we would sing and practice together over and over and over. And then eventually I moved to Sudbury, where I had met a beautiful Anishinaabe Kwe. And she said, "Rosary, I heard you singing the other day. Do you sing hand drum songs?" I said, "I do." And I was in Sudbury for college. So on my evenings, I would go over to her place and we would have a hand drum circle in her house. There would probably be about 10 of us sitting around singing hand drum songs. And We got so good to the point that we formed a hand drum group and we were doing gigs. This was like 20 years ago or so, maybe more. And we were called Wabishke Makwa, White Bear Singers. That's what we were called. And it was a group of us, maybe 10 of us or so. And we would go around and sing songs, all the songs that we knew. And we didn't really make any songs, we just sang the songs that already existed. So my composing days hadn't begun yet at that time. And then time goes on, I finish school, and so what am I gonna do with my life? And then eventually I moved to Toronto. When I moved to Toronto, it was kind of a really difficult situation. I was in a previously really abusive relationship, and I was fleeing domestic violence, and that's why I actually moved to Toronto. This was in 2007. And I had my daughter, who was 8 years old at the time, and my son, who was an infant at the time, we had a little baby. And I had to move away from where I was to seek safety. So I packed us all up in a tiny little U-Haul, and away we went. And we went to a women's shelter here. And I felt safe in this women's shelter. But I knew I wanted something more stable, and I wanted something more healthy, more positive for my family. So I started a little bit of healing work while I was here. I found a therapist during that time. I started a new job during that time. I enrolled my kids in a First Nation school here, and I did what I could to create that stable life for my family. And one of the things that we did when we first moved here was we went to the big drum socials at the Native Canadian Center, because one thing that every Native Anishinaabe, Muskego, Cree person I know when they go to a new city is, where do all the natives hang out? We must find this place where all the natives hang out. And back then in the early 2000s, the Native Center the social was the place, the big drum social. We would all meet there Thursday evenings. My kids loved it. They knew every Thursday evening we would hop on the subway and we would make our way to the Native Canadian Center and we would go sing. Well, I brought my hand drum and I would sing with all the women there at that big drum social and sing all the songs I knew and share songs that I knew maybe they didn't know, and I would learn songs that they knew. All the while, I was making friends that were also hand drum singers, and making friends that, would teach me songs and I would teach them songs, and it was a really good time. It was a great learning experience, and I really loved the healing that I would feel from singing songs and sharing songs. I always say when I'm performing and I'm at an event or I'm anywhere and I sing, there's a voice that comes out of me that comes from somewhere else. That's what I say. It's an experience for me where I'm almost outside of my body. And for me, that's a very powerful feeling to be able to be a part of that, to embody that much connection to spirit. And oftentimes when I'm singing and I've done my show or done whatever it is, people will stop and say, "Wow, I felt goosebumps when you were singing." Or people will say, "Oh, wow, I cried. I don't know why I was crying, but you made me cry," and they'll feel something. And I always say that's because of that connection to the spirit. when I'm singing. When I was about 24, I had a dream. And I had just come home from work. I had my daughter with me, and my brother was at my house at that time. And I told my brother, I said, "Can you watch Red for a little bit? I need to go lay down and have a nap. I'm really tired." And he said, "Okay, no problem." So he put on the show for her and went down to my room, and I laid down. Oh, there's somebody talking. Are they asking something? Oh. So I went to go lay down, and I was having a real good sleep. I fell right asleep real fast. And I woke up, or so I thought I woke up, to a knock at the door. So I get up and I open the door, and outside in my hallway, there's 4 little ladies standing in a row. And I said, "Oh, hello." I'm looking at them, I'm like, "Are you okay? Are you looking for somebody?" And they came into my room, all 4 of them, and they were standing there, and they were so cute. They were these cute little old ladies, about yay high, and they had long dark hair, and they had beautiful clothing on, long skirts, and they had satchels that they were carrying with that had like bundles of like medicine and baskets, and they all had beautiful smiles. Like I could still see their cheekbones and their beautiful smiles, and 3 of them didn't talk. They just stood there and smiled at me. But the leader, at the front of the line is the one that did the talking. And she introduced herself to me and said, "We can't stay here for very long, but we just wanted to bring you a blessing. And we want to pray for you." I said, "Okay." And she said, "You're going to be doing a lot of talking in your life. And you're going to use your voice to heal people and to help people. So we want to bless you for that work that's coming." I said, "Okay." And back then in my 20s, I was quiet. I didn't talk a lot. I was very shy, and I couldn't get in front of a group of people like this and share any stories, nothing, forget about it. So it was strange for me to hear that at that point in my life. And I said, "Okay." And so she said, "Relax." And then she brought out some medicine, and she took her hand and she put her hand up and wrapped her hand around my esophagus. And I could feel her fingers. And I wasn't scared, oddly enough. I was just like, "Oh, this is normal." And she prayed. And I could hear her saying this beautiful prayer in Cree, talking about how we're taking care of you, we're blessing you, this is medicine for you, all these beautiful things she was saying. And then when she was done, she handed me a basket full of medicine. She said, "We have to go now. We can't stay long. But we'll be with you, and whenever you need us, just ask for us, and we'll always be here to help you." And away they went. And as they were leaving and leaving the room, I could hear bells. And they were such a beautiful sound of a bell. And I'll never forget that sound. It's like those sounds of, those Chinese meditation balls? They're like, and then you move them around and they kind of like a tinkling sound. It was like that. So they were walking out, and I was like, "Wow, that was cool." And then I sit down at the edge of my bed, and I was like, "Now how do I wake up?" So I lay back down. I wake up, and I'm like, "Hello?" And I wasn't awake yet. Okay, so I go lay back down. I wake up again, and I did that maybe 5 or 6 different times, and I couldn't wake up. And then finally, I woke up again. The last time I said, "Am I really awake?" I was looking around. I called Josh. I called my brother, and he said, "Yeah." I'm like, oh, thank God, I'm up. I get up out of bed, I go running down the hall. I was like, you would not believe the craziest dream I just had. I told him that I shared that story with him, and he was like, that's pretty crazy. So I've always carried that dream with me, and I always think about those beautiful four little ladies that came and blessed me and told me, you know, that I would be using my voice to help to heal and to bring healing to people and be a helper that way. So when I sing, I feel like those ladies are here with me when I sing. And it's almost like I can hear them harmonizing and singing with me. There's a reason why our spirits get attracted to certain things. And I was taught long ago that when your spirit gets excited about something, that's because it's part of your mission here on earth, and it's part of your purpose on earth, that excitement that you feel. And so I knew, even as a young girl, when I heard that song by Eulalie Makchi, there was a spark that happened inside of me at that time. So I knew there was a connection with traditional style singing. I knew one day that eventually it would take me down a path. And even in singing, I've been singing my whole life. I remember my very first memory of singing. I was probably 3 years old. And I used to listen to my grandmother sing church hymns. There's a reason why my name is Rosary. My grandmother is very Catholic. And she would take me to church 5 nights a week, and all I heard was hymns. It's sung in Cree. And so naturally, as babies, we learn a lot through song. We learn a lot through a lot of language through song. So I was a Cree speaking little one, and so I was singing these Cree hymns since I was little, since I was a baby. And one day my grandmother was in the laundry room. She was scrubbing some clothes on a washboard, laundry room. And I was listening to the beat of that washing board. And I started singing, Wichahina, Wichahina, Noftawinan, Wichahina. And my Gokum just stopped and looked at me and she said, you sound so beautiful when you sing, granddaughter. Go, Mina, Mina. Again, sing harder. And she was scrubbing those clothes, and I just kept singing that Cree hymn that I learned in church. And so after that, my Gokum realized I could sing. So then whenever she had her little Bible study gatherings with her friends, she would say, Ashton, bet you son. So then I became the entertainment for Grandpa's Bible study group. So I would be there singing all my songs and entertaining the ladies. And those are my earliest days of remembering singing and how it made people feel and how it made them feel good. And I'll always carry that with me, that special feeling. And I often think back to that when I'm singing now, even today, as, you know, an older woman and singing in front of people. I still think about those earlier days too, when I first started singing. So I guess throughout my experiences in life and healing and learning from my experiences and learning from my traumas, you know, it's been challenging. There's been lots of ups and downs. There's been lots of hardships and grief and trauma and everything else that comes with being an Indigenous person. I would say that my connection to spirit, my connection to the land, to language, and to song is what has always helped me on my path. you know, there was always times where, you know, I'd wander off and get into trouble, or wander off here and get into trouble, but going back to ceremony, going back to the land and language is what has always, 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 time and time again, has saved me from many, many terrible things. You know, when I first shared earlier on, I talked about being a foster child, and, you know, statistically, you know, being a survivor of child welfare, you know, I should be, you know, incarcerated. I should be addicted to something. I should be, you know, all of these other things. And somehow I was able to overcome these challenges and find a way to help myself and preserve myself through all of those challenges. And I always say it's because of the ceremonies. It's because of this good way of life and song sharing and sharing my story time and time again, and being humorous about it and laughing, you know, and being joyful. That's what always saves me. I come from a big family of 8 siblings, you know, and we all had a very similar upbringing in foster care, and we all suffered different forms of abuse and traumas and isolation and separation and segregation and all the other bad things that come with that. And unfortunately, you know, my siblings all have a hard time too. You know, I lost one of my brothers who passed from overdose a few years ago. One of my sisters, you know, passed from suicide. You know, and a lot of my siblings struggle with their mental health. You know, and I always say, if you can find a way to pray to a higher power, whatever that looks like to you, um, that will help you. You know, time and time again, I have prayed since I was little girl, since I knew there was a higher power that I could pray to. That's what I did. I would cry myself to sleep after being punished for whatever, after being abused. And it was always that prayer where I would feel a form of comfort. And I believe that in that power of that prayer that would save me time and time again. I think, you know, Creator worked with me by me keeping my relationship to Creator very close and to my higher power that saved me, you know. So I think about those things and all of it that comes with singing and teachings and yeah, healing. So that's all I have to share. How was that? Is that okay?
Amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah, thank you.
I kind of went all over the place, so I hope it all made sense.
No, absolutely. It
Oh,
was amazing.
okay.
Yeah.
This was different for me. Yeah. With the Zoom people. Hello, Zoom people. Are there any questions from folks? I see a hand up, or is that a clapping hand?
I think I see a hand up there.
We can maybe just open it up to open forum.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I can't see anything though. I have old lady eyes. Everything's like blurry.
It's okay. There's nothing
Okay.
happening. Maybe in chat.
Oh, yeah, if we host any virtual drum groups.
Oh, that's a good question. I used to back in 2020, but it's something I'm open to. Yeah, I'm always open to sharing virtual classes. And if I did that, I don't know where I would do it. What would be a preferred platform, I guess would be my question. Like, where would you prefer to have a virtual class? This is something I could do for sure.
Sorry, just in the chat that they have a drum and they've been looking for spaces to join, but they haven't had any luck.
Oh.
So. That's,
Yeah, we could do some virtual stuff for sure. I'm trying to think the best way to do it. Maybe follow me on Instagram if you have social media. I could start something up maybe this winter. Would be a nice winter activity. Maybe once a week we could hop online and just share songs.
That might be something we'd be willing to facilitate and support too.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe talk
For
to
sure.
Nikki about that, because that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Wonderful, great question, thank you.
As they would say Zoom as a platform, but they're worried about the audio.
Oh, yeah, as we learned that
Yeah.
Zoom is like, too loud, no
Yeah.
sound for you. It's like, sorry, everybody. And I was just giving her.
Oh, she just asked what your Instagram is. Don't you to put it in the chat?
Yeah, it's at Rosary Spence.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's my first and last name. If you're in Toronto, I'm singing at the Horseshoe Tavern on October 2nd.
I was just gonna ask what if you had any gigs coming up.
Yeah, so if you wanted to come check it out, there's a big lineup of some really cool artists. We have Lacey Hill, who's Mohawk. The Johnnies, they're like high rock and roll, high energy rock and roll. We have Faith, who's an R&B, Nishnabekwe. We have Stella Standing Bear, who's a hip hop rapper from Salt Lake City, Utah. And we also have a Métis fiddler. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I think that's everybody and me.
Any more questions at this point?
Okay,
Anyone else have
cool.
questions? Okay.
I think maybe there was a comment in the chat. Is there?
They just said that it looked like it sounded very good, so I don't know if just I didn't hear.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think when you sang it again, it was they
Yeah.
could hear, but
Yeah,
that's
it was, I think with the drum, it was like, ooh,
yeah.
too loud.
But we would have caught it on our camera.
Oh,
hopefully,
okay,
So
okay.
we'll have it and
You'll
yeah.
have two versions.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
I have a question.
Yes,
What's the favorite song? What's your most favorite song that you've made so far?
that I've made?
Yeah.
Oh, I have so many. To pick one favorite. Oh, I think my favorite to sing is Squirrel One, a woman's song. And it goes way your hand, way your hand, way That's my favorite to sing. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. And when did I make that one? Let's see, my son was, I think he was 4 when I made that. So I made that 14 years ago. So that would bring us to 2001 or 2000, anyway, 14 years ago. My math is not mathing. And actually that came out of a project I did with Jumbly's Theater Company. And I went in as a traditional singer and I shared songs with them. I shared with them a water song that we sang as part of a large production. We're talking like 40 cast members. And the water song that I taught them was a song that I also composed. And it's a two-part song. There's a bass to it and there's a harmony. And it's beautiful when people can sing the harmony and the melody together. So it's way out, 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 way out. So that's the melody. And then after a couple of times of singing, way out, way out, way out, then a harmony comes in. Way we are. So imagine a whole choir singing that in unison with the melody and the harmony. And then of course you got all the other vocalists doing other parts. So in that project, I taught them that traveling song, composed it for them. And then I also composed during the same time the women's song. And where it was born was I was collaborating with a Southeast Asian artist by the name of Sharda Iswar. And she sang a song from her country. And the song talked about being a strong woman and embracing womanness and embracing your sisters and your family and so it was a beautiful story she was sharing. And when she shared that with me, I said, okay, I'm gonna make a song and I'm gonna pray about it and I'm gonna think about all of my sisters, my friends, my family, my grandmother, all my aunties, and I want to make a song to honor them. And so I went away and I thought about it and started composing, and that's what came. And with that melody came other harmonies that I then taught to Sharda and the other singer, I can't remember her name. And we sang that together as a trio. So that's where that song was born, out of that collaboration. And it was so beautiful because the other singer was from, where was she from? Somewhere in the States. But she had a really beautiful opera style singing to her. She was a classical opera trainer. What is her name? Very talented, very amazing. And she sang an opera song that she composed about women and strength, and it was like all the three songs and the three singing was just like mind blowing. I was like, this is so cool. But that was one of my most earliest collaborations with other artists, and then after that I just kind of started wanting to collaborate more and finding other artists to work with. Yeah, that's where that song comes from.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you ever experimented with like throat singing? Because I know that's also very popular as well.
Interesting question. Well, throat singing belongs to the Inuit.
Mhm.
I'm not Inuit. I'm Cree.
Gotcha.
So I remember one time I would never want to culturally appropriate throat singing, but I did have a friend who is Inuit, and one time we were at a gathering and she was there to perform as a throat singer, and I was like, oh my god, it was so beautiful afterwards, and she was like, do you want to sing with me? I'm like, yeah, I do. So she gave me like a really quick lesson, and it was so hard to do it. I was like, I can't figure it out, and I couldn't do it, but also I don't know, it just felt like awkward because I don't belong to that culture, right? So, but it was really interesting to hear her teachings and hear her stories about it and where she learned and all of that. Yeah, really beautiful. Yeah, great question. Thank you. I did sing with a group of women about I would say 25 years ago, before the Rogers Center It was called the Sky Dome. And they used to have an annual powwow there in November. It was like a big deal. It was like a big contest powwow way back in the day. We're talking 90s. And I went there and I was just walking around having fun at the powwow. And I ran into some hand drum singers that I knew, and they're like, Rosary, come sing with us. I said, okay. And I was singing away. And there was an older Inuit lady there. And the song that we were singing was Anishinaabe. No, what was it? It was, I think it was Strong Women. Well, yeah. Yeah, it was Strong Woman. But in the background of that song, the Inuit woman was, the Inuit was throat singing, the elder. And I was like, I got goosebumps. I was like, this is so cool. Like the collaboration. I'd never heard it like that before. It was so beautiful. Yeah. Just wanted to share that little story.
So would you say that for you, music was a great like way of healing?
Yes, definitely. Music, singing, music of all forms, because I also play guitar. I also sing in bands and perform with other musicians. Like I also sing with the Canadian Arabic Orchestra. I do lots of collaborations with all kinds of musicians, from like electronic musicians to full-on bands to you name it. I've tried it. And in every single form or platform or media or whatever, it's always healing. It's always being able to be imaginative, be creative, compose, sing alongside some really inspiring people. That alone is healing. You know, being able to express your gifts and then have your gifts appreciated in exchange. You know, they're like, oh, you know, we appreciate you so much. That feels good, you know, to feel that. And it's empowering. So that itself is healing. Feeling like there's value to a gift that you have, you know? Yeah, feeling valuable, I think, is super important to anybody with whatever gift you have, you know, feeling like you're contributing and sharing your gifts. Yeah. Yeah. That's healing.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You said when you were in your 20s, you were like really shy, like
Yeah.
before like all of this. And like to me, like hearing you speak now, I can't even imagine that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just like, how did you kind of get to the place that you're at now? Because like, I don't know,
Well, you know what? It comes with practice. It really does. Because when I think back then, I could never speak in front of a group like this without getting red in the face, without like being really scared. I still get stage fright. Before any big performance, before coming here, I had stage fright. It's like that butterfly feeling, like, oh, I'm nervous, what if I mess up? You know, like, I think that's natural. But when I was really shy, forget about it. I couldn't even, you know, no way. But singing, the moment I open my mouth, it goes away, like instantly. The moment that I'm on stage and the first note's gone. I'm somewhere else, I'm on another planet. And I can't see anybody anyway. When you're on a stage, it's like, there's nobody out there. You're by yourself or with your band, whoever. But definitely practice. I think when I first started speaking publicly and doing shows, I suddenly discovered I was a little bit funny. Like, people would laugh. I'm like, oh, you like that? Here's another one. I was like, this is fun. I think that helped me too. But I can be silly and I can make jokes and people will have fun with that, you know? I don't need to feel awkward or shy. And with more practice and more, I put myself out there, even if I was feeling sick to my stomach about it, I would still force myself because each and every time it gets easier and easier and easier. So public speaking kind of came with that. Yeah, just practicing. Yeah, yeah.
So with your dream,
Yes.
the dream that you had, did it kind of like guide you to what like after hearing those women tell you about like that the impact that you would make, did it kind of guide you like, hey, maybe this is the path for my life? Or did you not like think about it until later on and you started doing it, like speaking publicly and realized like, oh, like I had a dream about this before?
Yeah, it didn't come right away. That's for sure. I kind of always had it at the back of my mind though. It was always there. So I studied social work in school. I had this conversation earlier. I just came from Google headquarters in Waterloo and I was sharing my story. And one of the questions was, what did I study in college, right? And my background is social work, but how did I get there? So in high school, one of the things that they had us do as high school students was an aptitude test. And it was a big, long test. It took like 2 hours to complete. It's like question and then multiple choice and then it's like, I don't know, it was random questions just about your personality and everyday life from like, are you a morning person or an evening person? Like stuff like that. It's like, what does this have to do? Anyway, answered everything. And at the end of it, everything gets calculated according to your answers. And at the end of it, I got my results. And my principal, who was giving out the results to everybody, said, "Oh, Rosary, so one day I'm going to see you on Broadway musical, but you're also going to be a social worker." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "That's really weird." I didn't even talk to anybody, never mind singing on a musical stage. But the aptitude test told me that I would become a performing artist. And that I would become a social worker. Like those were the two main areas. I was 17 when I did that test. So I was like, no way. I have no interest in social work. Anyway, I did later on, but I studied social work and I didn't think about having like recording music. I didn't think about going on stages and traveling the world singing. I never thought of it back then in my late teens, early 20s. I thought, oh, that's not for me. So then I went to school for social work. And as I said in my story, that's when I met people and started singing, making groups, making friends. And that was all in my 20s. And it was always at the back of my head that the dreams of my ancestors, where they would come and tell me, you're going to be singing one day, it's going to help you, or you're going to help people. So I thought, I wonder if this is what they're talking about. Like I'd be singing, like, is this it? Am I doing it? And yeah, I was, without really knowing that that's where my life was going. Yeah. So little things like that just kind of make sense at the end of it all, you know? Yeah. Dreams are really cool.
Did you ever have a dream of them after you started, like now? Did you ever meet them in your dream?
I do still. Yeah, a few times. That's why I have these, the tattoo. I'll share about why I have this, okay? Same ones, the same old ladies. They came to me and they said, Kim, we have a gift for you. I said, okay. And I was so happy to see them. I was like hugging them. I was so excited. And I was like, ooh, what is it this time? And we're sitting there and she took me and she laid me down. I was like, this is weird. I laid down and one of the other grandmothers was lighting medicine around and she was walking around with smudge. And then the one, I had my head like this and there was one sitting here and then she sat down, like her face was right on top of me and she started poking me. I was like, what are you doing? And she said, I'm marking you, and she's speaking in Cree, I'm marking you with 3 lines. And this is the best translation I can give you. These 3 lines represent the 3 rivers where you come from, home. So we're water people where I come from in James Bay, and we hunt, trap, and survive off of these lands. This is where my ancestors come from. And there's 3 main rivers, the Albany River, and a couple of other ones that just run straight down into like halfway down Ontario. And we would go up and down this river. traditionally it's our traditional strap line. So anyway, they were talking about those waterways, and I thought about it and I was like, oh, okay. And she said it symbolizes that. And wherever you go in the world, you're always going to come home. This is to protect you. This is to keep you safe. This is your protection. It's Ganakachihegoan, oh man, this is gonna take care of you. And she said, and because you sing and you use your voice, we want to keep your mouth safe, keep your voice, your language safe. So she was telling me all this while she's poking me. And it's the same thing again. When I woke up from that dream, I was kind of, whoa, that was really weird. And I didn't do it for the longest time because, while it's permanent, number one, and I didn't want to, there's this thing happening where there's a resurgence of traditional tattooing. There's something that's happening where it's being revived, right? More and more people are having dreams about it. More and more people are getting teachings, and this was something that was a normal part of our existence here as Cree people, Anishinaabe people, Inuit, whatever, all across from east to west. It was traditional, it was normal. When we had colonial interruptions, all of that stopped and it was taken away and it was almost lost forever. Very, very close to being lost forever. But then people are starting to have dreams. And every single person that I meet that has a traditional tattoo, a marking on their body, wherever it is, say it came to me in a dream. So that goes back to that teaching of how we're told our spirit travels in our sleep. We go to the spirit world in our sleep, right? So then it makes sense that our ancestors who are in the spirit world are telling us why we have these. They're giving us teachings in dream world of why we need to have our markings. In my own research, and because again, it took me a long time to accept that I was going to do this to my body. That was a very long time. I was like, I gotta be mentally prepared. People are going to ask questions. So I did some research, and there was all kinds of different things that I found in my research, all from like, there were specific families that would have specific markings, different markings would again mean protection from different things. And it was just all so much information. And I came to the conclusion that each individual person will have their own teaching for why they have their marking. It's an individual experience because as human beings, we know that we evolve, right? We're not in packs anymore. I myself, I can speak from my own experience. I don't live on my community surrounded by my closest family members. I live in Scarborough with my husband and my kids. That's my pack now, right? But back in the olden days, we would have different things that identified us and connected us to our lineage, right? It's not like that anymore. Things have changed, right? So as we evolve as humans, as generations come and come and come, I think the teachings are coming back and we're learning new things and we're doing our best to revitalize what was lost in the best way we can, right? And how do we do that? How do we accomplish that? Offering our tobacco, praying, asking Creator, asking our ancestors for that guidance, and it comes. So after all my research, after all my thinking and journaling, I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And it was in 2022. And I met this beautiful woman named Crystal Kimorn. I saw a post and my friend Joni shared it and said, oh, Crystal is doing traditional tattoos, tattoo parlor, blah, 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 blah. I said, oh, is this a sign? Am I supposed to do this? And so I wrote to her and I said, hey, Crystal, I'd like to book an appointment with you, and yeah. So she gave me a date and time, and I went. And you know what? When she was poking me, I was in my dream. She lit a smudge. She put on traditional music. It was very meditative process for me. I was laying down, and it was exactly what I saw in my dream. I fell asleep. That's how comfortable I was in that position and what was in that environment and what was happening. I fell asleep. And when she was done, my daughter was with me and my sister was with me. And they said when I sat up, they said it was like I was a completely different person. They said, Mom, you're really different now. Something's changed. You've elevated. And I felt that. It was very empowering for me to do that for myself. Again, healing, it was a healing experience. And yeah, that was again, long story short, I guess long story long, that was another time I saw my grandmothers. Yeah. And I've seen them time and time again in other instances, but yeah. Cool, hey?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
Really amazing.
Thank you,
Yeah,
but
sure.
happy to be here.